Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to email us at patcpodcast1@gmail.com.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Greetings to our listeners. This is Mark Waterfield, President and owner of Public Agency Training Council, with another edition of our PATC podcast. I'm joined here by my co-host, David Broadway. Hello, David.
Hey, Mark. How are you?
Great. We've got a wonderful guest with us today, Brandon Pierpoint. But before we get to him, David, why don't you give us a little bit about your background?
Be happy to, Mark. I've had the pleasure of working with PATC for about 8 years now. Prior to that, 34 years law enforcement, 10 years on a local agency, and the rest of my career was with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Those that are not familiar, it's kind of a state police in the South. We did all governor ordered investigations, multi-jurisdictional investigations. One thing I forgot to tell you, Mark, I was a cowboy on a dude ranch for a while. So I think I picked up some skills there. Yeah, on the Ponderosa Ranch in Lake Tahoe, Nevada. And I still remember the spill I used to give the visitors. So wanted to throw that in. Lifeguard, grandfather. I'm kind of a well-rounded individual now.
Well, fantastic. Brandon, welcome.
Thanks, sir.
Please tell our audience about your background.
I retired about 2 years ago after just over 20 years with the local sheriff's office here in Texas. Been working for PATC now for just close to 2 years.
What kind of work did you do when you were with the sheriff's office?
So the last half of my career, I did investigations. I started out in the jail, did a couple of years there, went over to the courthouse, did a few years there, went out to patrol for 5 or 6, and then, like I said, the last 10 or so was spent in investigations.
What kind of investigations?
We used to run a little bit of everything. We didn't separate persons from property crimes until several years ago. And so the last part of it, I did property crimes. But before that, you would have anything from a homicide to a simple theft on your caseload.
Where do you live?
Lubbock, Texas. It's up at the Panhandle.
Tell us a little bit about your family.
I am married over 10 years. We have a beautiful daughter that will turn 10 here in 3 weeks. She told me last night, 3 weeks on the dot, so she's not ready at all.
It isn't warm in Lubbock right now, is it?
No, it is a brisk 108 today.
It has been hot in Texas, that's for sure.
Yes, sir.
Please tell our audience about what you teach.
So I teach phases 1 through 3 in the crisis hostage negotiation.
How did you begin your background in that area?
Oh boy, I was with our agency's team for 18 years. Was the guy on the phone for a while, and then morphed into an assistant team lead position, and then probably the last 10 or 12 years, I was our team leader for a negotiations unit. I was with the Texas Association of Hostage Negotiators for around 13 years. I taught the same material that I'm teaching now for that association. I was a regional director for 6 years. I was the president for a couple of years, and I was an advisor to the board for, I believe, like the last 5.
What kind of things does that association do?
They just put on regional training. They're a non-profit, so their main mission is training within the state and then an annual conference.
I see. Are there competitions in this area?
So Texas State University hosts a competition every year in San Marcos, Texas. Dr. Wayman Mullins has been heading that up for years. He brings 35 teams from across the country and internationally. And I've been able to judge those teams. Probably been going the last 5 or 10 years down there.
That's intriguing. I've seen that on the internet.
Brandon, I have a 2-part question for you, if you could.
Sure.
Was there any life experience, maybe prior or with law enforcement, that kind of pushed you towards hostage negotiation? And do you, after an event, hot wash what happened during the situation and look at maybe some phraseologies you used and some inflection that says, "Dang, I missed a point there that could have capitalized on"? Is that all part of the hot wash kind of situation after an event?
So your first part about how my path into negotiation has been pretty strange. I'm a big guy. I'm a 6'6", 280, probably heavier now that I'm retired. Played football, so I'm an operator looking kind of guy, but I found my way into negotiations. Found out that my relationships with some guys on the other side of this team helped bridge the gap between negotiations and operations, and found out that I was good at it and have just run with it, and it's taken me places I'd never expected. As far as after action reviews, yeah, that's we do those all the time. A lot of times is to figure out. We're real good at figuring out what went wrong, what went bad, how we can fix it. But we also try to look at what went well under those set of circumstances, and if we can employ those in the future under similar circumstances.
Oh, I like that. Thanks. On the phraseology, have you really kicked yourself a couple of times saying, whoa, I wish I would have stopped. I wish I'd have stopped right there because, I think law enforcement, like anything in life, is a business deal, and we're always connecting and making relationships.
I've got an exciting announcement about an upcoming conference that we have in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, right there by the Smoky Mountains, and we have a wonderful facility at the Gatlinburg Conference Center. We have wonderful classes, the Detective and New Criminal Investigator, Internal Affairs Conference and Certification, Hostage Negotiation, Linkage Investigation, Cyber Currency, Dark Web, and Social Media, as well as Search Warrant Major Case Investigation. Gatlinburg is always a wonderful conference and a whole lot of fun. Please mark in your calendar September 11th and go through September 15th. Make your reservations, and want to make you aware of 2 wonderful weeks that we will be having in Las Vegas. In the week of November 6th, we will have several classes at the Palace Station. Then during the week of December 11th, we will have another round of classes at Treasure Island Resort on the Strip. So check out our website at patc.com. I'm sure that you'll find a class that you'll truly enjoy, and we look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas this winter.
Yeah, whoever views this down the future will probably laugh when I say this. Like, I'm very good at sticking my own foot in my mouth in inappropriate times and places. But I have found that it's more easy to recover from a verbal mistake than people consider. I think if you start out with your intent being authentic and genuine, if you're always trying to do the right thing for the right reasons, it's hard to egregiously mess up. So I think that conveys in conversation.
Nicely answered, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I studied all morning.
That's great. Tell us about your class. What are the different aspects of your Hostage 1 and 2?
Sure. So the way that I got it scheduled, real heavy on material the first part of the week, and then as we transition, so even like practicals, we'll put people working problems by themselves, and then towards the end of the week, they're working problems with almost a full complement of a team, just kind of to stress the importance of team and that this is a team event, a team sport, and then. Like I said, the first about Wednesday is really the tipping point where I start to take less of a role, less of a lead, and we start to get these students in there getting repetitions.
And then you have practicals?
Yes, sir. Just simple stuff. One of the hardest things about teaching cops is teaching cops not to talk like a cop to a civilian. And that's more brutal than you think. And not to be a real good problem solver, which they do every day.
I teach at Western Carolina University adjunct, and it's really interesting to watch what I call the intangibles, how the people deal with me, and I hold their fate for that semester. How do they relate to me as the professor? And a couple of them I pulled aside, Brandon, and said, you're going to go far in life. You've shown me an intangible that not everybody has.
What is your intangibles you see?
Voice inflection, body language, know when to lean forward and hang on a word. Just the little things that you think maybe the parents had a little something in early in life to endear themselves to someone in authority.
Totally agree. It goes back to, and I stress this a lot in my classes, is be authentic, genuine, and as honest as you can be without giving away any tactical advantage. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the host said that intent has an odor, intent has a smell, and I think the other person that we're talking to picks up on that pretty quick and can sense if we're being genuine or authentic. Have
you seen that work in practical situations?
Oh, yeah. The people that do really good at it are people that sit down and this is another thing that I stress with them. Just have a conversation with a person. This is not police work. This is totally different role. You're not asking specific questions of inquiry so you can fill out your little database for your report making. This is slowing things down, getting somebody to think more rational and getting their lenses to open up a little bit where they could see more stuff.
Brandon, this is a question for both of you guys. It just popped in my head. What are the things I tell my students and also my law enforcement students? Have you heard of a YouTube segment called Charisma on Demand? Have you ever heard of that?
No.
I've not. No.
It's pretty good stuff. It really is. It's little mini lessons on relationships and developing a kind of an instant fast forward rapport with someone. But it's been pretty good. And I'm normally a pretty harsh critic of something like that. But I go, this is things we do every day, but we don't even realize it.
That's
Charisma on demand.
I just made a note. At the base of negotiation is our active listening skills. Like you say, this is stuff that people are doing on the everyday, but they just don't have the moniker or the label of the thing that they're doing. So now we could term those things and you do it purposefully, and that seems to ease the segue a bit.
Where are some of your favorite locations to teach?
Golly, I've been all over the place. I mean, this is really one of the best jobs I ever had. I'm not one to blow smoke either. I'm super ADHD, so everything is new on the road. And when I go to a place, I like to figure out if there's some historic value and go see the area or visit something. I can't say that I've been to a bad place.
What value are you seeing in the hostage negotiation classes? I assume that departments are seeing that those principles can be applied not just in a hostage situation, but in other situations as well. Am I accurate in that regard?
Oh yeah, I think at the base level of negotiation, there's a lot of similarities between de-escalation, crisis intervention, counseling, interview, interrogation. So. And I think now, we just had this discussion last week or the week before in class. A lot of people are starting to see less full-on SWAT calls because they're getting this crisis intervention training or de-escalation, and they're able to not allow this thing to progress into a full-out call-out. So I think that's a great thing.
Well, fantastic. You're a wonderful instructor. We very much appreciate and cherish our relationship with you. You've done a fantastic job.
I appreciate it.